Henry VIII, the Charismatic King Who Reforged a Nation, by Cathy Elgin, narrated by Jack Bennett. Chapter 1. An Unexpected Crown. Although Henry VIII is perhaps England's most famous or notorious monarch, he should never really have been king at all. He was born on the 28th of June 1491, the second son and third child of King Henry VII and his Queen Elizabeth of York. It was his older brother Arthur who, as the eldest male child, was set to inherit the crown on the death of their father. Arthur's birth in September 1486 had been eagerly awaited and was greeted with national rejoicing and a good deal of ceremony. That the first royal child was a son who would ensure the succession was always good news, as Henry himself would discover to his cost when he became king. In this case, after all the years of unrest in England during the Wars of the Roses, it was especially important that the new Tudor dynasty should be properly established. 3 years later, in 1489, the birth of Arthur's sister Margaret was also marked with much pomp and celebration, culminating in a fine christening in Westminster. Young Henry, by contrast, came into the world with very little publicity. He was born at Greenwich Palace, down the river from Westminster, and considered to be one of the king's out-of-town residences. Built by Humphrey of Gloucester in 1447, Greenwich was the principal royal palace for 200 years. Originally known as Belle Court, it was renamed the Palace of Placentia or Plaisance by Margaret of Anjou, queen to Henry VI. Henry did not receive the kind of attention his siblings had had. His grandmother, who recorded all the important family events in her Bible, barely mentions Henry's arrival, whereas the births of the two older children are recorded in great detail, down to the exact time, in the morning afore 1 o'clock after midnight, in Arthur's case. However, being born the second son had its advantages. While Arthur was groomed for kingship right from the start, Henry enjoyed a more informal childhood and was allowed more freedom. He grew up with his sister Margaret in the royal nursery at Eltham, where they were soon briefly joined by 3 more sisters and a brother, of whom only one, Mary, survived childhood. When she came into the world in 1496, the family was still mourning the death of Elizabeth, a second daughter who had died aged 3, just 6 months before. A third son, Edmund, was born in 1499, but the little prince lived for less than 18 months. In 1503, Queen Elizabeth gave birth to another daughter, Catherine, but this child survived for only a few days.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?